my name is Victor Barger. I'm a professor here at UW-Whitewater, and I teach social media marketing. So obviously personal branding with social media falls under that category. So if you want to tweet at me, you're welcome to do so. It's VA Barger is my handle, and of course the hashtag for the conference is UWWRC 2016. Let's get started. So just a quick overview. I thought I'd start by sharing some success stories, which maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Then a little bit about why you should care about personal branding, especially you as college students who are going to be graduating in the near future looking for jobs. We'll also talk about what a brand is, and especially what a personal brand is, and steps to go about building your personal brand. And then last but not least, the dark sides. So there are some things that you need to be careful of. Some success stories. Have you heard of Yuya? No? Okay. Well, it's perhaps not surprising. She's a 23-year-old from Mexico. She started posting YouTube videos around 2009, and she posts about beauty, fashion, makeup, that sort of thing. If you had to guess, how much do you think she makes per month? Just take a guess. $10,000. $10,000. Do I have another taker? $20,000. Okay. Anything else? $12,000. Well, she makes $41,475 per month just off of her YouTube videos, okay? She also has cosmetic lines, clothing lines, other things that she's making lots of money off of. All right, so that's one example. Then there's Charlie's Crafty Kitchen. Do you guys watch Charlie's Crafty? I don't think any of you watch Charlie's Crafty Kitchen. All right, well, there's 9-year-old Charlie and her 6-year-old sister Ashley. They're from Australia. They started posting videos in 2012. And they post about baking and cooking, which goes well with the theme of a kitchen. How much do you think they make per month? $100,000. That's pretty close. $127,777 per month. Okay? All right. Now you may be seeing there's a theme here. How many of you know PewDiePie? Anybody watch PewDiePie? A couple of you. Others aren't willing to admit it, maybe. So he is a 26-year-old from Sweden. He started recording himself playing video games, uploading those to YouTube, and what would you guess his monthly salary is? $250,000 per month. That is pretty close. He makes $333,333 per month. Not bad, right? For recording yourself playing video games and just goofing off. YouTube stars are more popular among teens than the biggest celebrities in TV, film, and music. If you think about that, that is absolutely incredible, right? That YouTube stars are more popular. And it's not just limited to YouTube, right? Pinterest influencers, if you have between 2 and 8 million followers, now granted not all of us have 2 to 8 million followers, but if you have 2 to 8 million followers, you could be making $250,000 per year by pinning things, right? Okay. If you're, I don't know how to pronounce her, I think it's Chiara Ferragni, she started a blog, okay, so it's not just blogs, it's not just YouTube videos, it's not just Pinterest. She has a blog that she started in 2009 when she was 21 years old. As a result of this blog, she's collaborated with Steve Madden, Christian Dior, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, and others, and she makes $8 million per year, okay? So these people are doing pretty well for themselves, right? Just based off of their personal branding. Why should you care about personal branding? Well, there are some more practical reasons. You can get hired. Of course, the first thing about getting hired is that you have to stand out, right? And that's one of the things that a lot of people haven't started building a personal brand on social media. So if you as a marketer or an aspiring marketer start building your personal brand, you have a good chance of standing out from the crowd. Second thing, show what you can do, right? This is why portfolios are so powerful when you're looking for a job as opposed to just resumes. I know some schools really promote portfolios because they actually show what you can do, right? A resume tells people what you can do. A portfolio shows what you can do. And if you are a marketer and you've already used social media to promote yourself, that's amazing, right? You're showing them that you can promote them, right, on social media. Build and bring an audience. Your followers are actually an asset that you can leverage, right? an asset that you can leverage. So if you think about it, there's a video you should all watch if you get a chance. It's Frontline's, it's called Generation Like. It's free to watch, it's an online video, just Google it. But in there they talk to one of the founders of The Audience. If you haven't heard of that firm, The Audience, they are one of the up and coming firms in terms of promoting social media stars and helping them monetize their fame. But anyway, so in this, so you need to watch the whole thing, but I like one of the quotes that the founder says. He says, "You are your own media company." That is every person's goal in this, right? And as a media company, what you do is you develop, you create an audience, right? And then you cater to that audience, you deliver content to that audience, and that is what brings you value. And if you can bring your audience to a marketer, right? So if let's say I'm a marketer, I'm looking to hire somebody to communicate with college students, right? If you already have a large following of college students, that tells me two things. One, you know how to build an audience, right? So I know that you have this capability. And number two, you may be able to help me communicate with your audience, right? Because I want to be able to communicate with college students. So this is a great thing for differentiating yourself. And the last part is you can refine your voice. So each of us has our own way of communicating on social media, but it takes time for us to develop that voice. As a college student, there's less risk for you to post things, see how people react to those posts at this stage, and then you can figure out what your voice is. And a lot of companies, when they're hiring, especially in social media marketing, they're looking for people who've already developed their voice and are very good at utilizing that voice, and they want to match with their audience, right? So they'll often hire people who already can speak the voice that they're looking for, the way they're looking for to communicate with their target audience. A couple quotes from David Meerman Scott. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's a marketing strategist. He's written lots of books, including The New Rules of Marketing and PR. But two quotes he has, there's a video of him giving career advice. The first one is, creating a persona for yourself, that is basically a personal brand, on the web is the best way to get hired for that first job out of college. Okay? Second one, who is the person who's going to generate better attention for my business as a marketer? Is it the one who can write the best resume? That's the same as everybody else, right? This goes back to that point. Writing a resume does not show people that you're good at marketing, right? It shows you're good at saying what you might be able to do, but not actually showing or telling what you're able to do. All right, you can also build authority, right? So if you post the ideas that you want to become known as a thought leader, the more you post on a topic, the more people associate you with that topic, right? So if you write about social media marketing, gradually, as people read your posts, they start to associate your name with social media marketing. And there's this really cool thing called the mere exposure effect. I don't know if you've studied it in maybe your psych classes. But the fact that if we just see something over and over and over, we gradually start to like it. We develop an affinity for it, right? And that's why songs on the radio, maybe the first time you hear that song, it's not that great. Second time, third time, oh wait, I'm starting to like it, right? And then eventually you're addicted to the song. So that's the mere exposure effect. And by posting on media and social media and having people see your posts over and over and over and over, they gradually develop an affinity for your name, and they're more likely to turn to you. Let's see, so then of course, hopefully people are going to seek you out for your expertise, which will lead to job security, advancement, and future opportunities. And I want to point out this little note at the bottom. Remember, a career is a marathon, not a sprint. I can't take credit for that. That was actually somebody on our advisory board who said that. But it truly is true. You can't start the day before you start looking for a job, right? So you have to start, getting going, building your personal brand long before you're even in the market for a job. And you cannot quit after you've landed that first job, because a lot of the jobs that you'll get down the road also depend on your personal brand. Right? And this is a big mistake a lot of people make, is in the previous talk you probably heard about LinkedIn, right, and developing your LinkedIn presence. Well, a lot of people, they'll develop a great LinkedIn presence, they'll get that first job, and then they completely forget about their LinkedIn profile. And that is a huge mistake, because even internal promotions often come through LinkedIn, right? Your managers, your superiors, supervisors, they will look at your LinkedIn profile, they will see what your current personal brand is and make their hiring decisions that way. Search engine optimization. So this isn't necessarily directly related to social media, it is a little bit. Everybody Googles everyone, right? So nowadays, employers will Google potential hires. People going on dates tend to Google each other, right? So your home page is the first page of the Google search results for your name. So as an experiment later, I would like you guys to each go and Google your own name and see what comes up, okay? See if, number one, if anything comes up, because a lot of people, it'll be completely irrelevant results, which does not look good for you, right? Number two, you want to make sure there aren't bad results, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. It turns out that social media is key for dominating that first page of the Google search results. For a lot of us, especially when you're starting your career, there's not a lot of material on the web that's about you, and so there's nothing for Google to put up there on the search results for you. But if you have an account on Facebook, if you have an account on Twitter, if you have an account on LinkedIn, all of these will rank in the Google search results. So if somebody Googles your name, they're more likely to find you. There's also this website, I'm going to give a little plug for them. It's called Brand Yourself. If you haven't heard of it, definitely check it out. It's a free website, well, at least for at first it's free. If you want to utilize more features, they charge for it. But it does a great job of helping individuals rank highly in the search engines. And better yet, it even helps you push down negative content. So if there's any content that isn't so great about you, it helps you push that down. All right. It's free. Come on, why not do this, right? In the past, it cost a lot of money to do branding. You had to pay for TV ads, radio ads, newspaper ads, billboards. I mean, who's going to take out a billboard? In the past, it was maybe real estate agents, lawyers, this guy. So these are the people who would take out billboards to get a job. You don't need to do that, right? Nowadays, you can use social media for free. The only cost to you is the cost of your labor, right? The cost of your time. And before you're employed, that isn't that high of a cost for you to. It's definitely worth your investment. So why not do it? The last thing, of course, is if you're really successful, maybe you'll become independently wealthy. Maybe. All right, so with that, let's talk about what a personal brand is. So I'm going to show you this short video. It's actually about what is a brand, and it was developed for the financial industry. So some of the things are a little bit unusual, but it does an excellent job of giving a very quick review of what a brand is, and then we'll take that and we'll apply it to personal brands. Okay, so this is a very short video, which we'll just quickly watch it here.
Did you know we are exposed to over 3,500 brand messages every day? If you think that sounds like a lot, consider this. Today, my odyssey through 3,500 brands started out like this. The minute my Panasonic alarm clock radio goes off, it's tuned to National Public Radio. I grab my Oral-B toothbrush, put some Crest toothpaste on it, take a shower with Irish Spring, use some Degree deodorant, have a glass of sun-kissed orange juice, a bowl of Cheerios, get in my Jetta, and of course, drive to Starbucks. Then I get to work, Dell computer, NEC monitor, Windows operating system, with an Intel Core 2 Duo processor inside. And then there's the cacophony of other brands we encounter daily. Energizer batteries, Robert Mondavi wine, DirecTV, CNN, the Green Bay Packers. We live in a brand-saturated world. That's why it's so important for your brand to stand out. But what is a brand? A brand represents people's gut feelings about your organization. Another way to say it is that your brand equals your reputation. We use brands as a form of mental shorthand. We create brands to summarize our attitudes about basically everything, whether that be people, places, or things. Brands represent all the things that pop into our minds when we think about a company or its products. For instance, Walmart is known for its low prices and wide selection. If I say Las Vegas, a subconscious rush of memories, experiences, and associations come flooding into your brain. This is the Vegas brand. Southwest Airlines is regarded as the cheap bus of the skies, with a quirky, fun personality. Coach is associated with its high-end luxury handbags. Apple is cool, creative, hip, intuitive, innovative, and stylish. How we relate relate to brands is a lot like how we relate to people. The instant you meet someone, you start forming impressions about them, making little mental notes about how they look and the things they say and do. As time goes by, we make adjustments, amplifying some attributes while adding or deleting others. It works the exact same way with brands. Everything you do and say influences how people think about you, and every interaction is an opportunity to build your brand. Every time they see an ad, swipe their debit card, or use online banking, they are interacting with your brand. So what is your brand? It isn't your name or logo or tagline or products or branches or advertising or website. Your brand is all these things. These are the tools you can use to strategically shape and influence people's feelings about your organization. But ultimately, your brand will be built by what you do, not what you say, and the experiences you deliver every day. So what is your brand? Your brand is your promise. It is your pledge, your commitment. Your brand is what you stand for. And it is your organization's singular driving focus.
Okay, so the neat thing about that video is that all of those things apply to a personal brand. It is your reputation, it's how you act, it's what you say, right? It's your interactions with other people, which is why it's so important that those interactions be positive interactions. It's your hobbies, activities, interests, what you stand for, how you treat people, your values, your personality, even your appearance, right? These are all aspects of your personal brand. So I'd like you to do a quick activity. I want you to think of a friend, somebody who's a good friend of yours, and I want you to think of 3 words that you would, the first 3 words that come to your mind that describe that person. Okay, so I'll give you 10 seconds. Done? You got 3 words? All right, what are your 3 words?
Me?
Yeah, just give me one.
Dependable.
Dependable. What about you?
Hilarious.
Hilarious. How about you? Funny. Okay. Spontaneous. How about over here? Anybody got a word for me? Friendly. Let's go a little back here. Caring. Okay, so these are all wonderful words that you're using to describe people. If somebody else did this exercise for your friend, would those words be the same? No, they wouldn't, right? Why not? That's because of this thing called, well, we'll do it here. You've got the difference between your identity and your image, right? So your identity is who you are, right? Who you as a person are. Your image is how others perceive you, okay? And then there's this funny little thing called self-monitoring, which sits in between those. So depending on who we're with, we change who we are, right? Some people are, we call them high self-monitors, so they're like chameleons. They completely change who they are depending on who they're with. Some people are super low on self-monitoring. It doesn't matter who they're with, they're always the same person, right? So imagine yourself at home with your parents, right? That's one person of you, right? Now imagine yourself out partying with your friends. Different people, right? Probably not the same person because you're self-monitoring. You're changing who you are depending on who you're with. Now, from a branding perspective, that maybe isn't so good, right? Because when we're talking about branding, we talk about consistency in branding, right? We want to have the same brand perceived by others. So on personal media, on social media, if we're doing personal branding, that's a bit of a challenge. So let's go through the 5 steps to build a personal brand. We'll start with this first one, conduct a social media audit. Here what you have to do is you have to see how you are currently being perceived on social media. And the best way to do this is to have somebody else Google you. And it is very awkward, okay? Because I make students to do this in my class, and they hate it. Because it's very awkward to have other people, well, maybe not all of them hate it, but some of them do. It's very awkward to have somebody Google you, but that is exactly what employers are going to be doing, right? Employers are going to be Googling your name before they decide whether they're even going to interview you. So you want somebody else to, oh, by the way, the other reason you have to have somebody else Google you is because Google gives you different results depending on who's Googling. So if you're Googling yourself, Google will give you different results than if somebody else Googles you. So you can't Google yourself. The other thing is you're not going to be objective. You're going to look at things that come up and you're going to say, oh yeah, that's big deal. Other people are looking, they're going to like, that's terrible. You've got to get that off, right? So you really do need to have somebody else do the Googling for you. Okay, once you've done the social media audit, you know where you currently stand on social media. And at this point, you need to start reflecting on your identity, right? We said identity is who you are. So now we're focusing on who you are. And that is, first part, what are your values? Okay, so you would identify 5 values that are important to you, describe these values and explain why each one is important. That's the foundation of your identity. Now, it is key that you write this down. Okay, you can't just sort of do it in your head. And I love this quote, let me make sure I get it right. Flannery O'Connor, she said, "I write because I don't know what I think until I read what I say." Right? And it's so true. Until you actually write something down, you don't always know what you really think. And so it's absolutely essential that for each of these steps that you write down your answers and think about them. The second thing is to think about your strengths and weaknesses, right? So you're going to identify and describe your top 5 strengths as you perceive them. Identify and describe your top 2 weaknesses, again, as you perceive them. And these also contribute to your identity, but it is absolutely essential that you do this reality check. If you do nothing else of any of the things I say today, do this, okay? Because you can't believe how many people don't realize what their strengths truly are. We all have misperceptions of ourselves, so you definitely want to talk to 2 personal contacts. Parents are great, sisters, brothers, whatever, and 2 professional contacts, and ask them to identify 5 of your strengths and 2 of your weaknesses. The reason I say 2 of your weaknesses is because we can only take so much of hearing about our weaknesses. And also, you sort of have to pull teeth to get people to be honest in terms of giving you their your weaknesses. And then, of course, think about how are they the same as the strengths and weaknesses that you came up with, or are they different? I'm going to bet they're going to be different. And I can't tell you how many students have told me that they were so surprised at the outcome of this. So do this. If you do nothing else, do this, okay? Number 3, now, of course, you have to differentiate yourself. We're in marketing. We all know how important it is that we differentiate ourselves, right? Or at least we know that's important for our brands. And so at this stage, you're going to figure out, well, first thing is to think about what am I currently known for? And one of the easiest ways to do that, you see this big word cloud in the back, right, is to generate a word cloud from either your resume or your LinkedIn page. And there are tools on the web that make this super easy to do. There's Wordle, and if any of you guys have used Wordle, that's one. Tagxedo is another one, Tagxedo, I think it is. And basically what you do is you take the copy of your text, you paste it in, and then it creates a word cloud for you. And of course, in a word cloud, the big words, what do the big words mean? Exactly. The more often a word appears in the document, the bigger the word in the word cloud. Okay? So this is a great way for you to, and then pick the top 5 biggest words. I think I say this here. Yes, explain the 5 biggest words in your word cloud and reflect on what they say about you. And then also think about what tasks coworkers and others ask for your help with, and what skills or attributes are associated with these tasks. Now, more importantly, what do you want to be known for, right? In what ways does your current professional identity or image align or not align with who you are? One of the issues with it not aligning is that you will constantly feel outside your comfort zone, which is okay sometimes, right? But if you are way out from your actual identity, it's going to be really stressful for you long term, right? And you won't be authentic. Authenticity is so important. So ideally, your professional image is a subset of your identity, right? So you've got your professional image, and then you've got a subset, which is your identity, which is your professional image. Okay, and then think about what changes could you make to better align these two, and is your professional image unique? So maybe you're really good at Microsoft Word, but so is everybody else, right? And so that's probably not going to differentiate you. So choose the things, the aspects from your identity that really do make you stand out and differentiate yourself based on those attributes and skills. Number 4, now is when we get into the social media part. Develop a strategy, okay? So what content will you deliver to build your personal brand? Content, 2 aspects. One is the topics, right? What are you going to write about? What are you passionate about? and what is your audience passionate about. And niche content is best. Niche content being content that other people are not writing about. If you're writing about dieting, what's the problem with that? Yeah, everybody's writing about dieting, right? There's no way for you to stand out. There's too much clutter. You want to pick something that's a little more unique that other people aren't writing about so that you have a chance to stand out, right? The second thing is the format. Format has two important things. One is what format is going to work best for you, right? The second thing is what formats does your audience prefer? And then I think there was a third, but let me just double check my notes here. No, those are the two. So what does your audience prefer and what are you best at? If you're a writer, maybe you want to write blog posts. If you're a photographer, maybe you want to take photos. If you're a fashionista, maybe you want to post selfies, right? It's really important that the format align with what you're trying to accomplish. And of course, the platform. Right? Which platforms are best for reaching your audience? The most important thing is where is your audience? How do you know where your audience is? Well, one thing is if you know somebody in your audience, you can ask them, right? Ask them what platforms do you use. Don't just assume that they use Instagram. Don't just assume that they use Twitter. Actually talk to some people who are in the audience that you're trying to reach and find out what platforms they use. And of course, content is also going to dictate which platforms you use. Because if you're posting blog posts, you're probably not going to be using Instagram to post them, right? Okay. So we've decided what content we're going to post. We've decided what platforms we're going to be on. Another thing you might want to think about is, are you going to maintain a separate professional self and personal self on these platforms, or are you going to combine the two? So for some of us, maybe our personal selves, we post thick content that's a little more let's say provocative. We might want to maintain 2 accounts on that platform, right? So maybe on Twitter, you'll want to have one account which isn't easily discovered, or maybe has protected tweets, and then another platform where it's professional and easily discovered. So it uses your full name, it uses your location, it uses whatever else people can use to find you on that platform. All right, what tone are you going to use, right? So we talked about voice. This is an important decision, and it's something that the more you practice, the more you will figure out what your tone is. Are you professional? Are you somebody who writes in a funny tone? Are you somebody that makes jokes? That sort of thing. So you want to come up with this decision, and then last but not least, how will you identify yourself? So brands may have trademarks, right? As a person, you have a name, but more specifically, you have a username or a handle, right? So ideally, you want this handle to be consistent across social media platforms. There's a neat website called namecheck.com. You can enter a potential handle in there, and it will tell you on which platforms is that handle available and on which ones is it already taken. Because really, if you can, you want to have that same handle on all the different platforms that are out there. Second thing is brands have logos, people have faces, right, or headshots. So make sure you get a recent, decent headshot, professional attire, no busy backgrounds, don't crop off your friends, that always looks weird, and just your head and maybe your shoulders, right? So, and that is going to be your logo. All right, so this is how you're going to identify us. Last step, evaluate your effort. It is so important to keep routinely, or on a regular basis, go back and see how am I doing. And the key to this, again, is have somebody else Google you, okay? Have somebody else Google you, and now how are you being perceived online? Is it how you hope to be perceived online? And if it's not, can you make changes for that? So ask a personal contact for feedback, ask a professional contact for feedback, and then think about what changes need to be made to your social media communications to reflect the personal brand that you want. The dark side. All right. So not too much here, but first thing, the good old FTC, you want to keep them happy. So if you start doing, working for like, Buzz Agent or any of these other influencer programs, make sure you realize that getting free stuff for endorsing, reviewing, or promoting products might be fun and awesome. It's also illegal if you don't disclose it because you will get fined $11,000 per instance. So even in a tweet, if you are promoting product and you're getting paid for promoting that product, if nothing else, put hashtag ad at the end, right? The FTC has said that that might be sufficient to disclose the fact that you are being paid for doing this. And this is, for most people, when you guys are creating a personal brand for your careers, this isn't as much of an issue. But when people are creating a personal brand because they want to make money, this becomes more of an issue. The loss of privacy. Obviously, the more information that you post on social media, the more information that's out there for everybody to see, right? So just a couple of tips. One is keep it professional. Be really careful about what you're posting. Don't post too many private details. You guys all saw that Kim Kardashian, what happened to her ring? She posted on Instagram what was it, how many millions of dollars was the ring? I forget. Anyways, she was in France, right, Paris, and she posted about it, and then of course they targeted her, and was she, I forget if she was mugged or what it was, but anyways, she lost her ring. So don't do that. All right. The second thing is don't antagonize. If you're thinking about posting content that you absolutely know is going to really upset some people, don't post it on your professional account, right? Maybe you can do it on your personal account. Don't do it on your professional account. The third thing is keep your account secure. Actually, this stands for any social media marketer, but it is so important that you have some way of coming up with really long passwords. I recommend 1Password. There are lots of password managers out there. Get one of those because you want to have a different password on every single site that you use. Because otherwise, if one of your passwords gets hacked, all of your passwords have been hacked. Right? And then two-factor authentication, if it's available, enable it, right? That means that when you're going to change your password, there's an additional step where they will text a code to your smartphone, and then you can change your password. And this is so that people don't get your information. Last thing is public shaming, right? So with followers come power. The more followers you have, the more power you have, and you're influencing all of these people, right? Anything you post can be amplified, and you have no control over it, right? So if you post something and people start sharing that post, even if you go back and delete that post, it's out of your hands. You have no control. So think twice before posting. And the last thing is shaming can have serious consequences for both parties. An example I give is there was a female consultant at a tech conference. She overheard two of her male colleagues making sexist jokes. Bad idea for them, of course. They shouldn't be doing that. But she decided to tweet a photo of them and talk about it. And then, of course, people identified those people. So both of the men got fired, and then she got fired. And then plus, I think somebody was the subject of a defamation lawsuit. So be really careful about shaming people on social media. That's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take questions. Feel free to tweet at me or tweet using the hashtag.